go ahead and get started. It looks like a few people have joined us since the minute has been up if you want.
Okay. It's recorded, so people can check back in.
Yes, they can check the recording for sure.
Okay. Well, good evening, everyone. And yeah, John Fletcher.
I don't see John on. We might just go ahead and skip right to Shane. Shane, if you're ready.
Sure, I can start. I got a small crowd.
It's recorded. People are going to come back to it later.
All right, perfect. All right, let me do a quick share then. So let me know if you guys can see that.
Yeah,
we can see your main screen. Yep.
Perfect. So I'll just do a quick, I have two things that I was going to touch on today. We completed our annual report, and I just wanted to run through that with everybody. And then just kind of briefly talk about transportation alternative projects and federal lands access projects, some applications that we'll be submitting. So I have this page up intentionally just to show you that if you do get to the main Missoula County website, if you go under government, run down to public works, click on that, scroll down just a little bit, and you'll see our annual report. So I'll run through our 2022 annual report. First, I'll start off with road and bridge. Some quick facts. I'm not going to run into those too deep, but we've got bridges and roads and culverts and sumps. Take care and maintain all that infrastructure with 22 road maintenance workers. 5 of those are in Sealy, 17 in the Missoula area. We've got 5 mechanics, 1 in Sealy, 4 in Missoula, and then a welder in Missoula, and then some office and engineering staff. Some highlights of 2022. I think the first one is kind of the coolest one of the bunch. I don't know if you remember last spring, there was quite a bit of flooding in Carbon County and Yellowstone area. So Missoula County sent 3 staff members down, actually 4 with Eric from Public Works. And then I know there were other county staff involved as well, helping out in that area. But just from Public Works perspective, we ended up sending 4 of our staff down to help out. And what's interesting is we've kind of got a partnership with the feds a little bit. They end up giving us equipment for free on occasion, and we do things like this. So what I thought was really interesting is that Yellowstone County is really close, a very large county, and nobody from Yellowstone went, but Missoula County traveled across the state to help out. So I think that says a lot about our crew. Dust abatement. Oh, go ahead, Juan.
Oh, I was just, that's fantastic. Way to go, Missoula County.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty awesome. Dust abatement. So we typically we'll do dust abatement on, call it 50 miles of road plus or minus, and we typically budget around 150,000. So we received bids last year for dust abatement. They came in closer to 200,000. It wasn't quite 200, but in the $195,000 to $200,000 range. And we evaluated whether or not we were going to accept those bids, or tried just alternative approaches. And one of those alternative approaches was, instead of hiring a contractor to do the work, we would do the work in-house. And so that's what we decided to do. We spent a little bit of money on updating a piece of equipment, basically a water truck that we converted into a distributor truck for magnesium chloride, and then just rented a large tanker truck. And we were able to go out and complete as many miles as we would have had we had a contractor for that $200,000 price, and stay within budget. So it turned out to be a good effort on our crew's part, and we'll continue to do that. It's going to probably save us around $50,000 a year into the future. So we'll just keep doing that. I will say too, we had to rent a large tanker truck to move the magnesium chloride around. We ended up just purchasing the tanker this winter. So that's a piece of equipment we no longer have to rent and we have on hand. So we're basically gearing up to do dust abatement on our own. And I think the other nice thing that's important that we mention about being able to do it on our own is we would typically have a couple weeks, and we have a 2-week window to go out and do dust abatement with a contractor. And that contractor typically had work all over the state, and that work was scheduled. If it rained or if we had any type of delay or any issues, that basically just meant we were out a day, and it was a lot of effort to try to catch up. Now with having our own equipment, we can do the work when we want, when we need. So there's a lot of positives for us to be moving forward with doing our own dust abatement. Chip seals, kind of the third year we've been doing chip seal work. This is an effort that we've been contracting out in the past. This last year, we chip sealed 9+ miles on Petty Creek in the Alberton area. One of the things we're looking at doing this year, though, is acquiring some of our own chip sealing equipment. And we think instead of $35,000 a mile for chip seal, we might be able to knock that down to about $15,000 a mile. We think the equipment's going to cost us $250,000, $300,000. But we will pay for the equipment in 1 or 2 years of doing our own chip seals. So this coming summer, we're going to take a crack at doing our own chip seals. There's an image of the chip seal work on Petty Creek Road. Paving, we paved a lot of different roads this past summer, but we didn't do a lot of miles. As you can see on here, we spent a lot of our money on chip seal and not a lot of money on putting down new pavement. But kind of run through these really quick. Old Highway 10 out by the Y. If you're familiar with Pulp Mill Road at the 90-degree corner, we just did a 0.41 mile extension of pavement out there. Heighton Street in East Missoula. 29th and North was an interesting one. That's kind of in the Target Range neighborhood by Big Sky High School. That was funded through a rural special improvement district. That was kind of our first try at doing an RSID to do road work, and it turned out pretty well. The neighbors and end up essentially paying for all the material, and Public Works does all the actual on the ground work. So it's a low cost way for a road to get paved, especially like a neighborhood street. Old Mill Trail, kind of the same thing. That's up in Grant Creek, except instead of going through an RSID, the residents just paid cash for the material. We put it down. That took like 2 days. It was a nice, quick project. Allamont Drive in Lolo, the developer built half the road and the Missoula County built the other half. I've got a photo down below that I'll show you on that. Patty Canyon Road, we did some spot overlays, Marshall Canyon spot overlays. And then Lewis and Clark Drive in Lolo, we did kind of, not necessarily a reconstruct, but quite a bit of work on a stretch there, just because we have new sidewalks that are going to be coming in on Lewis and Clark Drive and Farm Lane to go to the new school. This is just a picture of Allamont Drive in Lolo. This is the half that we paved. This is the half that the developer and contractor paved. And then I guess this report also just touches on all the at-grade railroad crossings that's down on that Bitterroot spur that we basically pulled all the crossings out, and now they're nice paved roadways rather than having bumpy railroad crossings. Then the main photo that we're looking at, this is kind of another cool project. I think Parks Trails Open Lands had $80,000 budgeted for doing some parking lot improvements at the Mount Jumbo West Side Little League ballpark. And so they received bids from some local contractors, and basically for $80,000, a contractor would have been able to come in and put millings down. ETOL and Public Works meet monthly to strategize and try to work together because we do have similar missions when it comes to just managing infrastructure. It's just a different scale. And so we just kind of figured out a plan where we could, instead of the contractors getting $80,000, what we figured is that we would just purchase the material, Public Works could put it down. So for $80,000, they got a paved parking lot, new fence, good drainage system. So it was kind of a cool project to be a part of. And it was nice to help out our P2L folks. In the frame here, you can just see they're putting a sump in for drainage. And my guess is probably one of these low spots here is where that sump is. So 2023 work that we're proposing to do, we'll probably focus on some chip seals in Rattlesnake, East Missoula, West Riverside, Piltsville area. We've got a bunch of asphalt millings coming from MDT. So MDT is going to be resurfacing West Broadway from Reserve Street out to the Y. So we'll have tons of millings coming off that project. A good portion of those will be stockpiled out of our pit at the Y, but we'll also be doing some placement of millings on Mill Creek Road. And let's see, I can't remember. We had Inderland Road was the other one that we'll be placing millings on. We also have, gosh, I think 12,000 yards or more stockpiled in the Y area. All or most of those are going to go to Dayshaw next summer as well. So we will essentially reconstruct Dayshaw from Mullen Road to Lavelle Creek. We're still working with a geotechnical consultant to just figure out the exact surfacing thicknesses and any treatments that we need to do beyond putting millings down. And then eventually we'll get that paved. Probably doing a little, like I said, chip sealing in Piltsville, but we'll probably also place some millings in the Piltsville area as well. This past year, just some massive numbers with our engineering and especially our revenue. We generated $10,000 with permits. So breaking the bank. No more budgetary worries now. Just a little bit of information on signs and things like that. Grants, I think this is a good one, and we'll probably segue into grant discussions in a little bit, but the county did receive $23 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds, and $500,000 of those are dedicated to developing 30% design plans for roads and bridges. And so we've got a myriad of projects that we're working on to get to 30% design, so that then we can apply for some of the discretionary, the federal discretionary funding that's out there. So having 30% design really just helps you when you submit your application. Some examples: Boy Scout Road Bridge. We've got some slide improvements on Big Flat, Dayshaw Lane, Cochise, and Deer Creek Road. There's some geotechnical work there. Glacier Creek Road Bridge in Condon, Lolo Street Bridge in the Rattlesnake, Sunset Hill out in the Potomac area. We also did a little bit of road design work on South Avenue. And because we had that 30% design, and actually it was more than 30%, it was actually like 50 to 60% design, we submitted the Safe Streets and Roads for All. We were successful there working with the MPO and the city and received a $9 million grant. And so we'll be working on upgrades on South Avenue between Reserve Street and Clements now. That work probably won't happen until like 2025, but I think that's a perfect example of that 500,000 going towards multiple projects to develop 30% to 50% design plans and then recouping that money in one project. So big win there. So I think that kind of covers the grant stuff. Grants for 2023, I should be able to cover all of that in the upcoming presentation. Building division, there's some numbers here. I'm not going to get into the details on the numbers, but I will tell you that obviously we had a lot of growth. So we probably had a lot more building permits, electrical, mechanical, plumbing permits than in past years. Dave Larkin, our building official, received his Master Code Professional from the International Code Council, which is basically the highest level of certification that you can get. And I think there's somewhere in the neighborhood of like 800 or 900 period in the United States that has that International Building Code certification. So it's kind of a big deal. little bit about some code adoptions in here. And then they did do some fee work as well, increased fees. And then another thing that I think is important to mention is Dave and staff did, Dave Larkin and the building staff did work with the fire districts to start trying to get carbon monoxide detectors out. They purchased some and received some through donations with the goal of just giving them away to just prevent deaths. I'll tell you, I think Montana is third in the nation in the number of deaths. And I don't mean third in a good way. I mean, there's only a few other states that have more deaths per capita related to carbon monoxide. So I think it's a good effort on our part to try to prevent those unnecessary deaths. Kind of just a look ahead again, building code updates, and then carbon monoxide, still working on those into the future. RSIDs, so basically we call them rural special improvement districts, but basically these are our sewer and water systems. So we've got 4 systems. We got sewer and water in Lolo. We've got a water system in Elmar. Sunset West, we've got a water system. And then Lewis and Clark, and well, Sunset West is out at the Y. There's a small water system out there. It serves about 45 people. And then Lewis and Clark is in Clinton. That's a small sewer and water system that serves about 45 people. This is an image in our Elmar shop. They did a backflow preventer training there for local professionals. So kind of a cool little class and training for those folks. Let's see, ARPA funding. We are currently developing multiple projects in all of those different sewer and water systems. We received, gosh, probably 8 million for the Lolo system, and then probably another 500,000 total between Lewis and Clark and our Sunset West system for some improvements there. But we're going to spend $6.5 million in Lolo on the sewer side. Much of that's the treatment plant. Even with those improvements on the treatment plant, we probably still have another $10 million in improvements that are needed to upgrade that system. The water side, we've invested, we're planning to invest about 1.5 million, and we've just received our first bid. So we'll probably be doing a lot of work in Lolo in the next few years between sidewalks and sewer and water improvements. So I think that kind of covers the sewer and water. And then Seeley Lake Refuse District. For those of you who don't know, the Seeley Lake area has it's essentially like a landfill. It's just instead of burying garbage, that they're put in large dumpsters that are eventually hauled back to Missoula. We do have a contract with Republic. In general, what I'll tell you is that we did see a greater number of people stopping in over the last year to dump their waste. And the other positive, I think, is that this is the first year that they had essentially a net gain on their recycling. So they didn't have to spend money on recycling. They actually made a little money. So that, I think, kind of is a quick rundown and update. Probably took longer than I thought it was going to take, but any questions on that before I jump into presentation on our federal lands access and transportation alternatives?
Looks like Lisa's hand is up.
Yeah, I wanted to get back to the carbon monoxide detectors. Are those still being given away, and who would we contact to get some for folks in East Missoula?
Get a hold of Dave Larkin.
Okay.
And I think, yeah, Dave Larkin at Public Works. And yes, they're still giving them away. But I think the quantity sort of ebbs and flows. I think they'll, get a batch of them through donations, and then they'll get them out. So I don't know where he's at. The last time I had a conversation with him, it seemed that he was out, but he was working on getting more. So it's something that I think we'll continue to work on for a while.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
I just had a quick question on how much life is extended by chip sealing? Like, is there an average?
Yeah, good question.
Ballpark?
Yeah, no. And it, I think it's gonna generally depend on the volume. A high volume roadway is probably, maybe only gets 5 more years of life, but like a residential street, probably, 10 years easily, if not more. It definitely extends the life though. And from a highway, just a high volume highway one, kind of that cycle would be you would construct the road, get a chip seal on it the first or second year. 7 years down the road, you would do a chip seal. Another 7 years, you would do a chip seal. And then you're probably into that mill fill chip seal in order to keep that pavement in the best condition that you can, and then kind of continuing that cycle of chip seal again. So, I think, most of our roads, you probably get 10 years out of it.
Gotcha. No, thank you.
And just, I guess, for comparison too, if we do our chip seals and if we're, if it's 15,000 to 20,000 a mile, our other option in the past has just been overlay it for $100,000 a mile. And that was kind of the cycle, is just pave it, and then when it fails, pave it again, instead of spending, 15 or 20,000 in kind of in that middle time frame to extend the life. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good use of our funds and extends the life. All right.
Oh, I just got a text here. Someone was asking about building division being closed, or there's like a COVID message with building division. Is that?
So our doors are not open, but you're welcome to come out. Most people, if you come to the door, will let you in, but for right now, we're closed. We've working on plans to kind of reconstruct that front office so that it's more segregated from the rest of our staff. So yeah, it's something that we're in the midst of working on, but yeah, we're currently closed, but like I said, you're welcome to come out. We'll generally let people in and visit with them in person.
Okay. It was just the COVID messaging sounded dated and closed for, restructuring or changing staffing, or, or lack of staffing, or whatever the message might be.
Okay.
This person was triggered by it, apparently, dated COVID message when, people are acting as if, COVID doesn't exist the way in 2021.
Okay. No, we can certainly update our message, Juan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, good catch. Any other questions, comments? All right.
I just did hear something from Mac Long today. He was giving a little update, and I don't know if this is significant at all, but about Barca funding or formula that they're trying to make it more a direct deposit, if you will, so you don't have to jump through the bureaucratic hoops of applying for it.
That is good.
So
yeah, that's good news. And I know there was also language too in some of the bills that would decrease the Barca funding for the next 4 years, but then after that it would be an increase. So we would be ahead beyond that. So yeah, I think there's some good changes with Barca.
Oh, he didn't tell us anything about that part, but that sounds great though. As long as you think it's good. Okay.
Yeah, no, and I like the non-reporting stuff. We'll see. It may be non-reporting, but maybe it's I don't know. Hopefully they just get rid of the whole application, then it's just a direct allocation, but we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. See, Federal Lands Access Program, Transportation Alternative Program funding. So these are just two federal programs that offer up the ability for locals to apply for funding. I'm just doing this presentation. I think it's really good. Just good information, but also I'm doing it as public involvement too, as public outreach, so that I can, as we apply for these projects, that I can say that we've reached most of the communities in Missoula through their community council through one all community council meeting. But we've also reached out individually to these different community councils where we do have projects. So we'll have that happening as well. And all right, there we go. Hopefully this thing will, I don't have to go backwards, but so I'll touch on Federal Lands Access Program. It basically allows for locals to apply for funding for roadways or any type of infrastructure where that infrastructure is used to access federal lands. Typically it's roads, but it can be bridges or trails, and I'll have examples of all of those. It's managed by Federal Highway Administration and specifically the Division of Western Federal Lands in Vancouver, Washington. Our applications this year are due March 31st, and the funding is basically part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, or the bill. Montana will have $36 million available in Federal Lands Access Program funding in 2026 and 2027 for construction. And that's what we're applying for now is, 2023, do the application, and then by 2026 and 2027, they have the plans and they can actually go build. No local match is required, this is the first time that's happened. Typically, we were at 13.42% at a minimum. Project selection should occur in August or September of 2023. And the selection committee is made up of MDT, Western Federal Lands, and MACO staff. And I am highlighted here, letters of support are appreciated. So as I go through these projects, if any of you see projects that you want to support, get a hold of me. We'll work on getting some letters out to you to get to us. All right. So the Missoula County projects that we are considering, Blue Mountain Road, shared use path, and that's in Missoula. Cold Creek Road, bridge replacement, that's in Condon. Patty Canyon here in Missoula, just doing an overlay. 6 Mile Road, which is in Frenchtown, we're looking at slide repair and an overlay. Post Siding Road, that is going to be a city application, City of Missoula application, but the county is partnering with the city on developing that application and working to get that delivered, because it's a mix of county road and city street. Just a little bit more detail on these different projects to kind of give you a sense of where they're at. So Blue Mountain Trail basically would start at Highway 93 and run along Blue Mountain to the Forest Service trailhead for Blue Mountain. Basically a 10-foot wide shared use path on call it the west and south side of Blue Mountain Road. We're also going to apply for, potentially be applying for transportation alternative funding. So we may just apply for two, and if we're selected for both, we'll pick the best. If we're selected for one, we'll be fortunate. So in this project, we do have 30% design plans and estimate. All right, Cold Creek Road bridge replacement. This is in Condon, and this is just south of the Missoula Lake County line. And this project would essentially replace this bridge over the Swan River. As you can see, this is pretty braided stream. Our bridge is somewhat at risk from being washed out here. So the plan would be to extend the length of that structure, improve the roads and armoring to protect that structure. All right, Patty Canyon Road, fairly simple, just an overlay. Starts at, I don't know if you know where the city-county line is, but it's basically at the natural gas gate station trailhead there. You can see the city gravel pit here too, to just give you some idea of where that is. It's 3.6 miles, would overlay all the way to the end of pavement and at the turnaround at Petty Canyon. 6 Mile, we had a slide out in 6 Mile a handful of years ago. So this project would essentially repair that slide, stabilize the slope, but then also we would do an overlay from the end near Conifer Drive, which is actually on 9 Mile. It turns to 6 Mile here and would go all the way to the Huson exit. Post Siding Road, this is the one that I was talking about, would be a partnership with the city, would start at Old 93 and extend to Fort Missoula Road. It would be realigned, and I can kind of show you that too. Here is Fort Missoula Road. Here's Post Siding. This part of Post Siding would be obliterated, and the roadway would actually be realigned through here and come into the intersection at a T. You might be wondering what federal lands we're accessing. It's interesting, the Forest Service and BLM both have offices out here. Both of them were extremely excited to apply for this one. So as federal land managers, this was probably, oddly enough, this was one of their highest priority projects. So kind of a cool deal. And then this picture down here just kind of shows you the typical section. Post Siding Road, we would upgrade that. It would be curb gutter, and then we would have a shared use path off to the one side. But quite a bit of an improvement if you've ever been on that road. All right, touch on transportation alternative funding. Basically, it's federal funding dedicated to essentially non-motorized type infrastructure. You can do things like lighting and other types of improvements, but for the most part, it's generally used for non-motorized. The Missoula MPO, or the Metropolitan Planning Organization, will receive right around 4.5 million and that's going to be funding dedicated right to the kind of the urban area of Missoula. So Missoula County will probably be applying for some of that funding. MDT also has another 13.9 million for statewide capital improvements. So we'll be applying for projects in that bucket of money. And we'll also be applying for this 1.5 million that's available for pavement preservation. Statewide, over the next few years, there's going to be $30 million available. Applications on that are due April 12th. Right now, Parks, Trails, Open Lands, and Public Works are working together to submit multiple applications for the county. Most of the projects we're applying for have 30% plus design plans ready and estimates ready to go. So we're in a good situation there. This does require a local match of 13.42% unless you are doing a pavement preservation project on an MDT owned facility, which we are going to apply for one of those projects. So we do have one project that'll fit that criteria and will not require match. Out of all these projects, we're still not certain if we're going to apply for all of these. We're working with the MPO to kind of try to refine our list so that the city and county aren't flooding the system to all compete for that 4.5 million. We're just going to try to work together to figure out what's going to be best for the community, and then submit applications based on that. So these are the projects. Blue Mountain Road, I'd mentioned that earlier, as a flat project, same project. We're just going to apply for it twice. Mullen Road, Cody to Dayshaw, shared use path there. Mullen Road, Mary Jane to Reserve, shared use path. And that and Flynn Lane, the Hellgate School to Camden, those are two trails that were part of, or originally going to be part of, the build project, but had to be pulled out because of the reduction from 23 million to 13 million in ask. But the good news on that, we've got 30% on Mullen Road plans ready to go, and Flynn Lane there, I think 50 to 60%. So we're in good shape there. Mullen Road out in Frenchtown, Beckwith to Hool Creek Road, another stretch of trail that it's been in the works for a lot of years. Russell Street, this one is in the city, but it's right next to the fairgrounds. So it's a kind of might be just a mix of city and county application there. And then US 93 South, that's the trail that will have pavement preservation work. That would basically be Buckhouse to the county line. So kind of just give you an overhead view real quick. Mullen Road, Cody to Dayshaw. Basically, there's a trail that terminates at Cody, so we would extend that trail and it would get almost to Dayshaw Lane in the future. MDT does have a project in the works. They're at 60% design plans right now to reconstruct completely Mullen Road, or the secondary 263, from essentially Dayshaw, or the end of this trail that we're talking about building, all the way to Pulp Mill Road, and probably just a little bit past Pulp Mill Road. Not only is the road being reconstructed, but the plan does include a segment of shared use path in there as well. So that shared use path would extend from Dayshaw to Pulp Mill Road. The challenge and the hook is that the county would just have to pay for the construction, which is estimated to be at around 1.5 million, which I think is going to be a perfect TA application in the next few years. So estimated cost of this short trail from Cody to Dayshaw is about $3.3 million, which is just crazy because it's only a little over 2 miles long. But the cost of these things are pretty enormous. Mary Jane to Reserve. Yeah, not a whole lot of description here. Just again, shared use path. The orange line kind of depicts the rough alignment, but with the build project, we were able to get a shared use path built all the way to kind of this side of the new Mary Jane intersection. Flynn Lane, same thing. The trail ends right here at the school. And the whole idea is just to get this trail up to Camden, which is this street here. Mullen Road in Frenchtown. This is a trail that's been in the works for a while. The trail right now ends right at Beckwith, and it goes clear to the junior high or elementary school. We would extend that trail clear out to Hool Creek. So that would be a good trail for users that are in this area that still want to walk to school or bike to school. Russell Street sidewalks. If you're familiar with where the Y is, basically from the Y north, we would construct wide sidewalks instead of kind of those narrow 5-foot sidewalks with utilities in the middle of them. There would be a boulevard and then a sidewalk. You're probably looking at closer to 7 to 8 feet of sidewalk rather than a narrow 5-foot sidewalk. But that would basically be from the corner up here, the intersection of Malfunction Junction, if you will, south just on this eastern side or the fairground side, down to the YMCA. And then finally, US 93 South Pavement Preservation. The project would begin at Buckhouse Bridge and would end at the Missoula County, Ravalli County line near Florence. The city, we've been in conversations with them. They would also apply for some of the MPO funds, that 4.5 million, to do more of that Bitterroot Trail from the bridge to clear to the trail where it intersects the Riverfront Trail. So they're in the loop there. And then we've also been coordinating with Ravalli County and tried to talk them into also applying for their stretches. We originally were actually going to try to work with the city and county to try to do one more of a larger ask. But MDT did limit the amount of funding that you could ask for a pavement preservation project. So we ended up having to just split it up. So the scope is just a fog seal, crack seal, just extends the life of the pavement. And we do have some contingency in there for minor repairs if needed. So those are the projects. If you are interested, get a hold of me. If you want to share a letter of support, and I can give you some sort of draft letter if you need it, but email or give me a call. Happy to receive any letters of support. With that,
thank you so much. Yeah.
I don't know, any questions on those projects? Awesome.
And then the request for letters of support in those areas, are we going to reach out to individual community councils? Would that be useful?
We already are, Juan.
Okay.
Yeah, we've met with Lolo Community Council, Frenchtown Community Council. You certainly can reach out to Condon as well for the the Cold Creek Bridge in Flap. But yeah, we've met with as many as we can right now.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks so much. I guess, Emmy, you're up.
Sue, did you have a question for Shane before we move on?
Oh, sorry, Sue.
That's quite all right. I tried to sneak in before Shane said his final goodbye. Um, just wondering, Shane, this is Sue at East Missoula. Just wondering if you have an update on the Highway 200 corridor project, where that's at.
Yeah, so there was an application that we submitted. It was a Connecting Communities grant, and I have not heard back on that. It was submitted probably about a month after we submitted the State Safe Streets and Roads for All. So I think we'll probably hear back maybe the end of this month, would be my guess. But at some point soon, Sue, we'll hear back on that. And that essentially that grant, what it would do is it would fund the 30% design of that entire corridor. So you would go from essentially Tamarack, Juniper with the trail, up to kind of that East Missoula area, and then kind of that full typical section of what was in the corridor study, essentially all the way to Van Buren. So what we could do with that money is clearly have a set of plans, estimate, understand how much right-of-way needs we'll have, what the utility impacts are going to look like. And then from there, you break it out into multiple phases and then start applying for construction projects. So it's going to be a while, and it's going to be multiple steps, but the application just for the engineering piece, I think, is a good, smart next step. We'll just see if we are successful.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, Sue.
Okay. So I'm Emmy. I'm the community engagement coordinator. I've probably talked to most or all of you at least once or twice. And I already reached out to all the chairs on the councils. So I think that most of you probably have this on your radar already or have already done this at one of your meetings. But we're kind of wanting to make sure that we get regular information out there. Just make it easier on the councils to know what's going on at Missoula County and create that back and forth communication a little bit more smoothly. So basically, I'm just sending along little updates to your chair whenever they're creating the agenda to add to the agenda so that they can give a quick update of whatever's happening at the county at the council meetings. And I believe, like I said, everybody that I've talked to has been totally on board with this and doesn't have any questions, but I thought I would get this on an all community council meeting in case there are questions or more discussion that needs to be had around that. But that was kind of the basis of why I had this on the agenda. But if folks don't have questions and whatnot, I might just go over how to sign up for the Missoula County Weekly, because if your council isn't meeting for, say, like I know that East Missoula often doesn't meet like over the summer months, but if you want to just keep up with what's happening at the county, if you receive those weekly newsletters, that's a great way to just stay up on the projects that are happening, news releases that have gone out, all the big stuff. So I'm just going to share my screen and show how to sign up for those. If you haven't already, if you have, you're awesome. Thank you. So here you just go to the main missoulacounty.us website and you go to e-notifications and you type in your email address and you choose weekly newsletter as your preference. It's pretty easy. I suggest to let anybody know this if they want to find out more information from the county. Also, most of the stuff that I'm including on these updates are often things that we are seeking engagement on at the county. Like the most recent update I gave was definitely just a lot of links to stuff in Missoula County Voice. So anytime you are just wondering what else is happening in the county, you can also find a lot of the projects that we're seeking engagement on this page. And we list all of the active, most urgent ones on the home page, but we also have more that you can search under search all other projects. So, and you can also drop pins on maps to show what road maintenance needs to be done. There's also smaller private development projects that you can view. There's a Mythbusters section. So if you hear any rumors or myths around the county, feel free to submit them here and we can bust them with the correct information. And then county trails maintenance, where you can also drop pins on a map. So it's a pretty comprehensive site. So just a reminder of places where you can find information. And I hope that, yeah, you'll feel like you're in the loop, because that's the goal here. And the last bit is that we do have a couple of flyers that I'll just plop in the chat here around the Housing Innovation Fund and around just how to do a building permit. I know that we're nearing on spring, kind of, except for it's like really bad weather outside, but we're just trying to prep people for whatever building projects they have. We'll also have staff at the trade show, and that's coming up in April at the MBIA trade show. So anyway, I have some flyers that you're welcome to hang up around your communities. You're welcome to take a day and go hanging up. You're welcome to just print them off, keep them in your car whenever you see community board, hang it up, or just tell people about it. No pressure or anything, but just would be super helpful just to help us get the information out. We will also be hanging them up on our end, but obviously we won't hit everywhere because it's kind of impossible to do that. So wherever we can get your help with hanging those, that is awesome. And that's all I had. So yeah, any questions or feedback?
You guys do a great job, Emmy.
Thanks.
My favorite, nudge from you guys is the government is up to something. So engaged.
Yeah, right. We were trying to make our social media a little more fun, at least, and our flyers, and we'll just try to make it eye-catching. So anyway, but okay. Well, if no one else has any questions or feedback, I'll just go ahead and plop those flyers in the chat. Like I said, you're welcome to print them off, hang them wherever you think would be a good place. And appreciate all you guys and what you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Emmy.
Thanks, Emmy.
Thank you, Emmy.
Now we're wrapping up here in the last 10
Yep.
minutes.
Yeah, we can wrap up here. I can just go around to the few councils that we have, and if they have any updates for us, go ahead and start with Bonner. Is Rick still on? Yes.
I am still here. Hopefully you can hear me.
We can.
I'm kind of shocked. Yes, is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'm kind of shocked I'm the only Bonner Milltown Community Council member here, because normally we're all here. So updates, I'm in Mexico and coming home tomorrow. And we have had some changes. Bert has resigned and will be sorely missed. We are down to 3 members. The last meeting, due to me being in Mexico, I missed, but I know Emmy presented, and we are going to implement that into our meetings every time we have them. We are certainly looking for people to fill open positions, because we're down to 3. So if you know anyone that's in the Bonner Milltown Community Council area, please have them contact any member, and we'll get them to apply for the open positions. And I think that's all I have, other than it's 70 degrees here. So
It's gonna be -4 in Missoula tomorrow.
we've been following that. So yeah, we're aware. We're just hoping we can actually make it back with the storms that are coming across the US right now. So
Yeah, safe travels.
thank you.
And yes, we need to fill out the board, so we'll shake some trees.
Yes, of course. Send us all your potential applicants. Happy to have them. We have several members on from East Missoula. I'll go ahead and turn them over to them.
Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Vera and Kyla. Rick, I feel your pain on not having a full board, but I am pleased to announce that at our February meeting, I was pleased to welcome Chad Larrabee, who I believe is on with us tonight. He's our new alternate, and Stephanie Lemberg is our new full-time vacant seat. So we are a full board of 5 with an alternate. So I do encourage anybody in the, the Bonner Milltown area to jump on board, and it's a very exciting, and I can't even describe. It's such a great learning experience, and you get to meet so many great people, and you find out what's really going on in your community, and we've got a lot of things going on and going to be coming up in East Missoula, some of which I put out on our Facebook council page. I kind of like to keep that updated and add a little humor to it also. Thank you, Emmy. It does help. Other than that, if Lisa has anything she'd like to add, or possibly even Chad, if you'd like to add anything tonight, I encourage you to do so. And yes, Rick, stay in Mexico for at least one more day, because a lot of the air travel right now has been stopped because of the storm we're in right now. Lisa?
Yeah, this is Lisa. Gosh, we just had a meeting, and they were keeping up with some developments in East Missoula and trying to stay informed on how those are moving along. We're doing hybrid meetings, so we're doing Zoom and in person, and using the East Missoula Fire Hall now. So we're back a little bit in person, 2 meetings now. I think that's all I've got to add to that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Sue. Thanks, Lisa. Chad, do you have something?
No, I just want to introduce myself so everyone can see my face. So just happy to be here.
There he is.
Hey.
Hi, Chad.
Hi. Okay, that's it.
Thanks. Happy to have you all. And the last one we have online tonight is Tom Browder with Sealy.
Okay, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Good. Whether you see me or not, it's not particularly relevant. Yeah, so at Sealy, probably our one thing we're doing, it will actually happen tomorrow night. We partnered with Lola National Forest. They're doing their forest plan revision, and they're doing workshops. They did one in Missoula, I think one in Superior. So for the one in Sealy tomorrow night, the council decided to work with them mostly to get more awareness out, to get more people to show up. So that will be at the community hall tomorrow from 5:30 to 8. We think, obviously as spread out as we are, we use Facebook for the council to get agendas and whatnot out. But there's some other, probably 2 or 3 Facebook pages that are sort of like Venn circles. They overlap a little, but not too much. So we're just like, we got something from the emergency management office about a Firewise survey. And they said, well, does the community council have an email list? Well, we don't. I mean, we have those of us on the council have different email lists. So we're working on this kind of council-wide awareness stuff as well. But tomorrow we'll see what kind of turnout we get for when the Forest Service folks come up to do that workshop. Otherwise, we do meet every month. And as we just heard, we found that hybrid meetings are the way to go because there are just some folks that can't get out of their house, or in the case of some of our speakers, it's easier if they're in Helena or Missoula to come in via Zoom. And yeah, I guess we're looking probably April or May. There's been some concern about suicides across the age spectrum, teens, middle-aged people, older people, and we'll probably might shoot for April, do kind of a symposium, work with aging services and the city county health folks to do, well, we did a senior symposium last fall that was pretty successful, where we focus on one topic and, get speakers, probably have some folks from the schools and whatnot. So yeah, pretty lively up there, although it's going to be 14, 15 below tonight, so not as lively as we might be otherwise. But and one last thing, the news items, Zimmy, I think those links you sent, for our February meeting, we experimented, we put that at the bottom of the agenda, the links and the little blurbs. So we'll continue with that, see what kind of feedback we get. Because in addition to being in the agenda itself, it goes on the Facebook page. So that's where we are at up Seeley Way.
Thanks so much, Tom. Is there anybody else on that I missed that would like to give any sort of an update?
Okay, well, have a great evening, everyone. Good to hear you all.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks.
you, everyone.
Very informative. We love these meetings.
Thank you, everyone.
Yep.
I'll be
Thank
interested in
you.
the Seeley Lake meeting, that all the community stuff. That sounds interesting up there.
Come on up.